quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
Funding for this program is provided in part by the North Carolina Broadcast Legends Production Fund, including contributions from the following. For a complete list of project funders, go to unctv.org/nclegends.
Welcome to North Carolina Broadcast Legends, featuring industry leaders sharing stories from the rich and significant history of the broadcasting business here in our state. I'm your host, Mike Weeks. Cullie Max Tarleton grew up on a small farm outside of Marshville, North Carolina. Their family listened to the radio when he was growing up. The Lone Ranger and Tom Mix were two of his favorite shows. Cullie was fascinated with the first radio station he ever visited, WMAP in Monroe, North Carolina. We had a friend with an afternoon radio program. His name was Bebop Bob Smith, and Bebop took a liking to Cullie, allowing him to hang around the station while he did the Sunday afternoon radio show. That sparked Cullie's interest in broadcasting. 10 days after graduating from high school, Cullie joined the Army. And after the Army, he went to work. While working at International Harvester, Cullie was put into a promotional marketing position and became very interested in sales. Then an opportunity with Seal Test Ice Cream Company came along. Seal Test was owned by Kraft Foods. That job led to another food industry opportunity, working for the Lipton Tea Company, who had purchased Good Humor Ice Cream. Cullie became the advanced sales manager, and then at age 23, he relocated to Washington, D.C. as the market manager for Good Humor Ice Cream, where he learned about budgets, planning, and business operations. After a few years, he was on vacation in Charlotte and he heard about a job at powerhouse TV station WBTV. On a Wednesday, he applied, and that Friday, Cullie was hired as their national sales coordinator. Cullie's food industry experience was just what WBTV was looking for. As national sales coordinator, he'd be working with some of the same local food brokers and big food distributors to coordinate national advertising for WBTV and their food clients. And that was the beginning of Cullie's broadcast career and where our story begins. Cullie Tarleton is the past chairman of the National Association of Broadcasters Radio Board. He's a past chairman of the Fox Network Affiliate Board of Governors. North Carolina broadcast honors include being past president of the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and the recipient of their Distinguished Service Award. And he's a member of the North Carolina Broadcasting Hall of Fame. Cullie, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mike. Delighted to be here. Thank you very much.
It is our pleasure to have you.
And let me just say, we didn't just listen to any radio when I was growing up. We were listening to WBT radio.
Oh,
and never
goodness.
in my wildest dreams did I ever suspect that one day I would actually run that radio station.
Wow. Wow.
But that's a true story.
That is a true story. Well, let's talk a little bit about your jobs in the food industry. And I want to talk about Seal Test ice cream because you told me a great story about Seal Test. Tell us, who did the commercials for Seal Test?
Seal Test national advertising was sponsored by Bat Masterson, and Bat Masterson had a TV show, and Seal Test sponsored that TV show. Wow. And so this was back in the day when the personalities of the TV shows would also do some of the commercials.
Wow.
And the Bat Masterson character did some of the Seal Test commercials.
Oh, and when you went to conventions,
we got a Bat Masterson baton. He as the Bat Masterson character, he carried around a baton on the show, and I don't recall why, but we were all given Bat Masterson batons.
Gosh, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Well, after you worked for Seal Test, things moved along, and you ended up moving to Washington, D.C. How did a country boy from Marshville get to D.C.?
Well, that's where the job was. As an advanced salesman, we opened Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Metro New York, Syracuse, Binghamton,
Wow.
and some other markets up there. And after we got all the markets open and got the distribution established, those of us who were the advanced salesmen were given our choice of which market we wanted to go to be the market manager for, and I chose Washington.
Wow. Well, as things went along and you looked at what your next job might be, it probably was going to be somewhere north of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, my next job with Good Humor would have taken me further north, and their headquarters were in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey.
Oh my gosh.
And that's where headquarters for Good Humor were at the time. And I was about as far north as I wanted to be at that point. So as you said, we were in Charlotte on vacation, and I learned about the job at BTV, and that's how I got into the broadcasting business.
You know, it's interesting when people talk about these opportunities coming up and becoming a reality. You had a series of things happen that I'd like you to share with us, where the timing was just unbelievable with you selling a house, buying a house, moving. Tell us how that all fell together.
Well, as you said in the opening, Mike, they offered me the job on Friday, which I accepted. On Saturday, we bought a house in Charlotte. Sunday, we drove back to Washington. Monday morning, I called a realtor we lived in Hyattsville, Maryland, called a realtor and said, I have to be back in Charlotte in 2 weeks. I want you to list my house, but if you don't sell it, I want you to buy my equity. I had to resign my job, had to buy an automobile because I had a company car, get everything lined up for my successor to come in, arrange with a mover to move us back to Charlotte, and in 2 weeks we were back in Charlotte and I was working.
Wow.
And if one little thing had messed up, it would have thrown a kink in the whole, kit and caboodle, so to speak.
My
but
gosh.
everything worked out, and as I've shared with people before, my wife is a retired school teacher, and she says that being a teacher is like being a preacher. It's a calling. I think my calling was broadcasting, and I think God just worked it out so that everything fell right in place, and we were there.
Well, we're thankful that happened too. Let's tell people, while you left the food business to get in the TV business, actually you were back working with food folks. Let's tell people what you did when you first started at BTV.
Well, as you said in the opening, I was hired as the National Sales Coordinator. And the function of that job was to work with local distributors and food brokers for national products, like Nabisco or Borden or whatever. And when their companies made a national television buy on WBTV, it was my job to coordinate that buy with the local broker so that they could realize 100% impact from that buy. And we would work with them with point of sale materials and helping them get the word out that their company was spending advertising dollars in Charlotte, and that would help them, expand their distribution base among the grocery stores and what have you. And that's what my job was.
Wow, and so much different than today, because not only did you help them with their ads on television, you helped them with some of their point of sale things out in the field, even though you worked for the TV station.
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
But by helping them, I was helping us.
Yeah.
Because as I used to say to them, it's only going to work for us if it works for you first. So my job is to make sure this works for you.
Yes.
And then it would work for us.
Cullie, let's talk for a minute about WBTV and WBT Radio, two powerhouse stations. And you mentioned that when you were on your porch and a kid growing up, WBTV was the station you were listening to. Talk to us a little bit about those two stations.
Well, WBT Radio was the first radio station in North Carolina, licensed in 1922, and it actually was first licensed in 1921 as 4XD, were the first call letters. And then in 22, the Department of Commerce, this was prior to the FCC, the Department of Commerce assigned call letters, and we were given those call letters by the Department of Commerce. And a guy who later became president, Herbert Hoover, was Secretary of Commerce when WBT was assigned its call letters. And so it was I think, of course, I'm biased. I understand that, but I think the WBT call letters are among some of the most respected in the nation. I mean, I've had people like Dick Clark say to me, man, what great call letters.
Yeah.
Everyone knows about WBT.
Yeah.
Paul Harvey told me one time, everybody knows WBT,
Yes.
you know, so respected call letters.
And not only was WBT the first radio station in the state, WBTV was the first television
Exactly.
station.
Went on there in
the state.
1949.
1949. Yeah. Wow. And a legacy station.
It is, and it was a privilege to have the opportunity to run both the radio and television station, not at the same time, but in the 70s I ran WBT radio, and then in the 80s went back to television to run WBTV, and just wonderful stations, wonderful people, a great company at the time. We were owned by the Jefferson Pilot Corporation, which was a combination of Jefferson Standard Life Insurance and Pilot Life Insurance Company. And we were, as we used to say, we were rocking and rolling.
We're going to backtrack just a little bit to go back to where you did something that kind of is unusual in this business. And some of your friends even asked you about it. You were working National Sales Coordinator for WBTV, and a job came up at WBT Radio. Were you going from television to radio?
Yes. Actually, I had made the transition from National Sales Coordinator to salesman for WBTV, and had been selling as an advertising salesman for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or so. And the sales manager at WBT Radio contacted me, well, they were just next door, and and offered me the local sales manager's position at WBT Radio. And I said, salesman, sales manager, salesman, sales manager. I think I'll be a sales manager. And of course, my television friend said, you're nuts, you're out of your mind. You're going from, people don't go from television to radio, they go from radio to television. And I said, hey, it's a promotion, I'm going.
Good for
So I went and then became, was local sales manager, and then general sales manager, and then was made general manager, and ran the station for a number of years.
So when did you become the general manager of WBTV? Do you remember?
Mike, I'm guessing it was probably 1980.
I believe that's right.
Yeah,
I think that's the date that I have.
Yeah,
and let's talk about some of the people at BTV, and one gentleman in particular, a good North Carolinian by the name of Lunas McGlaw.
One of my dear friends, Lunas, one of the most talented people you would ever want to meet, one of the nicest people that you would ever want to meet. And you know, Lunas was a musician, a songwriter. And, you know, we didn't need a musician and a songwriter on staff, so Lunas was our special projects guy. He was the guy that if we had something special that we wanted done, we would take it to Lunas, and Lunas would make it happen. And just a very nice, hardworking person. I remember going in his office, well, his little cubby hole one day, and he was on the phone, so I stood and waited until he got off the phone, and I said, who was that? He said, it was Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett. Oh my gosh. Well,
but he had contacts all over the country, you know.
And a couple of interesting notes about Lunas. He grew up in Ayden, North Carolina, in eastern North Carolina. He's a graduate of East Carolina University. Right. And as you said, he was on the phone with Tony Bennett when you walked into his office. He was a composer and a jazz pianist, wrote many famous songs, and accompanied people like Judy Garland, Tony Bennett, different people. And you shared with me, and I've looked into it because I was not aware, but a couple of songs that he wrote, I believe Frank Sinatra recorded. Yeah. So Lunas was a very talented guy. Lunas had a close friend that kind of hung around your station from time to time. I bet people would like to hear about.
Well, you're talking about Charles Carraud, I suspect.
I am.
Charles and Lunas were very, very close. Lunas knew Charles from the time that Charlie frequently, or briefly rather, worked at WBT prior to that. And so they became good friends. And then they got together and did the I Like Calling North Carolina Home album. And Lunas did all the music, and Charlie wrote all the words. But they talked, I would guess, at least weekly, if not more frequently than weekly. And it was not uncommon at all to see Charlie around the building or to hear Lunas tell stories about Charlie having spent the weekend with he and Nan, and was going through town and came by. Just just two good North Carolinians and who were buddies and had mutual interests.
Well, and for people that don't know, Charles Kuralt actually was from Wilmington.
Right.
And then his dad took a job in Charlotte. And I think they moved there in the 40s. And so, but early on, Charles Kuralt had won some contests as a child writing, and he had, I understand when he moved to Charlotte, he had a radio show as a teenager somehow. So he got in the business early and was identified, but people probably remember Charles from his On the Road series with CBS Network. Yeah. And Lunas wrote some of the music for that.
He did.
Yeah. So Lunas was great. I would like to talk just a little bit about I Like Calling North Carolina Home. Tell us a little bit about that. That was a wonderful project.
Well, as you know, Jim Heavner, who was who is a past president of the NCAB, when the year he was president, he called me one day and he said, "I'm coming to Charlotte and I want to take you and Sylvia to dinner." And I said, "Okay." And so we went out to dinner with him, and he told me about this idea that he had. He wanted to do a project called I Like Calling North Carolina Home. And he said, "I'd like for you to chair it." I said, "Okay." He had already arranged with Chuck Bloor, who was the most premier production guy in the country at the time,
very famous,
to do the jingle work. And so we did that, and it really caught on. And I don't know, this was back when, in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Even today, I hear people using that I Like Calling North Carolina Home wording, and you'll hear a little bit of the music, and it was very successful. And we had all the radio and TV stations across North Carolina cooperated with us and ran the spots, and so we did a good job of saturating the state with the I Like Calling North Carolina Home message.
And I think that the background on that is interesting too, Cullie, in that it was a rather tumultuous time in America. And I've heard Jim Heavner say, gosh, how could you feel better than living in the state of North Carolina? It's the greatest state in the country. Yeah. And he got the idea that we need something positive for North Carolinians to lift themselves up. And as you had said, in your association with North Carolina Association of Broadcasters, it became an NCAB project.
It did.
And you spearheaded it. And also Governor Hunt got involved.
Governor Hunt, this was
talk about that.
During his first term as governor. We actually launched the campaign at the governor's mansion with Governor Hunt there and with Jim there, and all the NCAB members were invited to be there. Wow. And we had all the material. I mean, we were poised and ready. Everyone went home with a package that had the jingles and everything in it. And of course, Jim Heavner. I mean, if Jim gets enthusiastic about something, it's infectious. Yeah, and it just spreads. And this was his idea. He did a fabulous job with it, and I was proud and pleased to be a part of it.
Well, I've heard an interesting story, Cullie, about what happened that night at the governor's mansion, and I want you to tell me if you heard this as well. Jim Hunt's been such a supporter of the broadcasting business, right, and of course North Carolina. But I understand that he was asking people to make commitments that evening and getting commitments in writing as you passed out the jingles and things for stations to pledge to support the campaign. And in exchange, he had put some money behind it to offset the cost of producing it. Is that true?
If that's true, I'm not aware of it. It would not surprise me. Because I mean, Governor Hunt as I do, and he's like Jim Heavner. If he gets enthusiastic about something, Boy, he is on full bore 150%, and we were selling his state.
Yes.
I mean, he's the governor of the state,
Yeah.
and here we are selling. I like calling North Carolina home. He loved it, and was very active that night as we launched the program. So that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, it's a great campaign.
We did ask for commitment, so that yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Cullie, you worked for Jefferson Pilot, who owned WBTV and WBT, and then after that, you went to work for Bayhackle, another great group.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about Bayhackle Communications.
Well, I had an opportunity to join them first as their general manager of their Fox affiliate
in Charlotte.
At the time.
Yeah.
It was a Fox affiliate in Charlotte. I had known Cy for a long, long time. In fact, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe it was back in the mid to late 60s. Cy's secretary called me one day and asked me to come over, and Cy offered me a job. And but what he wanted to pay me was not even close to what I thought
So
the
Mr.
job
Bayhackle, get the
ought to
money
be
up.
worth.
Yeah.
So I turned him down. But when I joined them, Cy was beginning to phase out of the day-to-day, and his oldest child daughter, Beverly Bayhackle Poston, had assumed the responsibility, and she is an outstanding person, a fabulous broadcaster, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. After running their Charlotte station, I ran the television and cable division for a while, and was there until I retired in '01.
I want you to tell another story. We're getting down towards the end of our time, but while you served on some national boards, you presented some prestigious awards to people I think people would be interested in knowing about.
Well, I did. I had the privilege when I was on the NAB radio board. Every year, the National Association of Broadcasters Radio Board inducts some people into the Radio Hall of Fame, the National Radio Hall of Fame. And as the chairman, it was my job to induct the nominees the year that I was there, and it was President Reagan and Kate Smith.
Wow.
And neither one of which could attend our convention because, unfortunately, the president had been shot.
Yes.
And Kate Smith's health did not permit her to travel. So once the president recovered, he invited us to the White House, and we went, and I was able to induct him into the Radio Hall of Fame and present him with his appropriate plaque. And he was very kind and very gracious. And then Kate Smith was living in Raleigh, living with her sister in Raleigh.
A lot of people didn't know that. Yeah.
And Wally Osley, who was with PTF at the time, knew Kate's sister and arranged for me to visit their home, and I was able to induct Kate Smith into the Radio Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And I happened to be there on her birthday.
Oh my gosh.
And you know, she was, her memory was fading, but she realized it was her birthday, and she said, "Guess who called me today?" And I said, "Who?" And she said, "The president."
Wow.
So President Reagan, and I said, "Well, I was just with him."
Oh my gosh. Well, what an honor.
Yeah.
And we are running out of time, but you know, I think that your wife Sylvia put it very adeptly, not only about teachers, but about other things. You know, sometimes there's a calling.
I think so.
And,
I think so.
And you didn't stop there. We do have a long form interview that has a lot more information. And if you would like to learn more about Cullie and just a very small part of the many, many things he's done and continues to do, you can see the long form interview by going on the web at ncbroadcastlegends.com. Again, ncbroadcastlegends.com. And I want to mention a couple of things. First one, talk about public television. You're a great supporter of public television. You're one of the trustees of UNC-TV at present time.
I do. I sit on this board.
And you, guys, we need people with broadcasting backgrounds that understand the business to be here and be supporting what we do.
Well, what we really need, Mike, is for all the people out there to support UNC television.
Yes.
Because public television is a treasure in North Carolina, and we need to support it.
It certainly is, and such an asset. So if you donate to UNC TV, please keep doing that. If you don't, please consider it. It's great. But Cullie has gone on, served a couple of terms in the North Carolina legislature.
Right.
You've served the Department of Transportation Commission, UNC TV. What's next for Cullie Tarleton?
Well, I'm still on the DOT board, and will be there until the governor decides he's had enough of me. but I enjoy that, and Sylvia and I both just enjoy being involved, and it helps keep us young, although we're all growing older. But we both enjoy being involved and helping make things happen, and so I'll just sort of keep my eyes and ears open, and if something happens, we'll see. I think the Lord will provide.
I'm looking forward to what you're going to do next. You've done so many great things, Cullie.
Well, you're very kind.
Well, thank you for being our guest today. Cullie Tarleton, and sharing part of his great story and contributions to the great state of North Carolina. Please join us again for another edition of North Carolina Broadcast Legends.
Funding for this program is provided in part by the North Carolina Broadcast Legends Production Fund, including contributions from the following: For a complete list of project funders, go to unctv.org/nclegends.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC TV.